Hello, and welcome to the Fiber Circus. This is episode number 19, and it's April the 17th, 2019. I'm your host, Elizabeth. I'm coming to you from southern Indiana, where I have a hand-dyeing, machine knitting, and all sorts of other crafting business, and an alpaca farm known as the Spotted Circus. You can get a hold of me if you want on Instagram, Facebook, or Ravelry as Spotted Circus. All my contact details are below, down in the show notes. Just down below, please hit like and subscribe so that way we can get the message out to a few more people. If you're a returning viewer, thanks a lot for coming back. And if you're a new viewer, thanks a lot for tuning in this week. Hopefully you stick around. So, first up this week, I have my works in progress. I have been making some progress finally on my Suriously, Holey by Stephen West. Last time I podcasted, let me untangle my yarns here. There we go. So I was down there where that little marker is. And it may not look like that's a whole lot of progress, but you need to realize this is brioche, and brioche is 2 rows per every 1 row that goes across. So for every 2 rows of progress, I'm actually knitting 4 rows. But I have finally started on another set of holes, and I've been doing some increases and decreases. And you can kind of see some right there. They show up better on the dark side though. And those were very interesting to do. There was a lot of counting involved, and I'm basically almost at the outer edge of the shawl. I finally started my second ball of sock yarn on it, so I know that the end is getting closer. But if you look at that, I'm starting right here. So the end is near. In theory, I should only have about 200 more yards of yarn to go through since I've started that second ball. We'll see. I've been notorious recently for working on projects and having extra yarn at the end, so we'll see how this goes. So I'm knitting it out of these 2 yarns. The black is my Pacaboo, which is an Alpaca Merino nylon bamboo in the Disco Lights. And then this is a brushed Surrey yarn, and it's Surrey and silk. See if it can focus or not on it. And it's in the Neon Sprinkles colorway. And I will have both of these available at my booth at the Fiber event this weekend coming up. So I'm making pretty decent progress on it. It's slow going though because I'm at, I think it's 509 stitches at the moment. So this is the brushed Surrey side and the Pacaboo side. So it's fully reversible, which is kind of what brioche does. I'm knitting it on, I think there says 5 or 6s. Let's see if my notes tell me. I know I'm using what the pattern calls for, because in a shawl I'm not too concerned about gauge. Yeah, US size 5. And that also explains when I was looking for 5s this weekend why I couldn't figure out where my 5s were. So, still working on my Seriously Holey. Slow going, but I'm on the almost last page of the project, so that's always nice. The other work in progress is something that I started last week, and I'd swatched for it. And I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to keep it or if I'm going to rip it out. So, what I started on was Rainbow in the Storm, and it's this sweater right here by Paige Parkin. When I cast it on, her sizes go from a 40 to a 50, but it's designed to be worn with 5 inches of positive ease. I wasn't thinking when I cast this on, and I was thinking about my under bust measurement instead of my actual bust measurement, and when I measured it the other night, I'm like a 49-inch bust, and I'm knitting the 50-inch, so that gives me 1 inch of positive ease. And I don't know if I think that's enough or not. And I'm kind of hesitant to put more work on it until I know, because I don't want to waste time doing it. So here's where I'm at so far. I've got 3, 6, probably about 7 inches knit. So this is the merino nylon fingering held double that I dyed up. And then I faded it into my first ball of yarn, which was out of this set by Into the Deep UC, and it's that purple right there. So I did the purple, and now I'm on this little ball, I've just done a few rows of it, and you can kind of see it starting right there. My issues with it so far is 1 inch of positive ease enough? You know, is that gonna fit me and make me feel comfortable enough to wear it? Because with the gauge that it is, I mean, it's pretty open somewhat to begin with, and I would prefer not to have to wear something underneath it. But I also don't know if there's really enough contrast going on. Like, I was envisioning it to look more like this, you know, rainbowy colors. And there's a lot of white in these little skeins for what's going on. So I'm at a point right now where I need to make a decision. Am I going to frog it? Because this was a lot of knitting. I mean, it's ribbing over quite a few stitches. And when I try to hold up the base against my chest, I mean, it feels like it's going to fit. But at the same time, I'm slightly hesitant about that. It is on interchangeable needles, so I'm thinking I may find a joiner and join it onto a larger cable and try it on to see how I'm feeling. My biggest issue is I just don't get the purple as much as what it is that I want to get the purple. And then like this next color up, this lighter purple, the transition isn't as heavy as what it is I wanted to see it. So, and that was kind of why I bought these mini skeins. They also didn't do quite as many rounds as I had planned for what my gauge was. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about this sweater right now. I mean, in theory, I could rip it out and I could take these mini skeins, skein them up, and dye them so that way there's less white in them. But that kind of defeats the purpose of me buying these mini skeins. I mean, in the couple of samples that I'd seen knit up with them, they looked more colorful. And granted, I'm holding it with one strand of the black. So, you know, you've got this black with the multicolors running through on here. But it's just not reading quite as purple as what I'd planned. And if I put it on and it doesn't fit, that's going to solve the issue really quickly. So, I'm not sure what I'm going to do about this sweater right now. So, if you have thoughts, let me know. I mean, I guess as I get... I mean, from a distance, you definitely can't really tell easily. I mean, the transition is right there between the two. But the issue is that enough as to where it's going to show? I don't know. I'm not as happy as what I want to be with it, which sucks. Because this was a lot of ribbing to do. So, we'll see. This may or may not make another appearance on the podcast. It's also becoming warmer now, so in theory, you know, I'd be putting it... I wouldn't be wearing it at any point sometime this summer either. I do still like my little balls from In the Deep QC. The problem is that there just isn't quite as much contrast as I want to see. And I'm also slightly worried that if I rip it out and decide to make it bigger than what the pattern is will I have enough of the mini skeins to complete it? When I'm looking at the yardage that's required, so they used 7 colors, and they used 110 colors per color of the rainbow. So that's 770 colors. I'm using 10 colors, and I have roughly 963 yards. So in theory, I would think I should be able to do it. But at the same time, I'm a little bit hesitant. And if I'm a little bit hesitant now, it's making me think that maybe I need to rethink this sweater a little bit more. So, we'll see. Disappointing, especially with how much effort I've put into it so far. These are on US size 9s so far. It's nice and squishy. But that's about all I can really say about that. It's a work in progress, but it may become a frogged work in progress soon. And it is living currently in my cute Alpaca's knitting bag by Ginger Snap That. And it's a cute little bag. It's held up pretty good so far. I got some dirt on it the other day. I have a lot of cat hair on it too, I just noticed. Oh, excuse me. So, we'll see if this is going to make an appearance or not again. I may do some modifying to it and change the way that it's knit. And maybe, instead of holding 2 double and doing ribbing, I may try to do just a single yarn held singly. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do about it. But I'm not thrilled, to put it nicely. So, that started me on looking for something else to cast on. And since it's becoming warmer, I thought I really need some kind of hand knit to wear when it's warm out. And I'd been eyeballing the Meraki by Sara Gresbach. And it's this tank top here that has a mesh back, or there's a keyhole back. And you can actually wear it interchangeably either way. And Leslie from the Knit Girls had knit this last year, but she put sleeves on hers, which I would really like to do too. I don't know that I need like full tank top. I just want like some little cap sleeves to hide, you know, the armpits. People don't need to see my armpits. And so I got to looking at that, and she didn't make a project page, so there's no notes for me to follow. So I emailed her to find out how she did it. And I have a general idea now as to what I'd do. And so all that got started because I was at my friend Linda's house, who has a yarn store. And it's, come on, Eagle Ben's Yarn and Fiber Shop. And Linda is located, come on, focus. Linda's located down in Kentucky. And I was there for her shearing this past weekend. And if I'm there for her shearing, you know, I'm helping out with the alpacas and that kind of stuff, but I also wanted to go into the yarn store and see what they had. And when I was in there, I found these 2 colors of Beroco Remix Light, which is 100% recycled fiber. And I got to looking at it, and the Meraki calls for a sport weight, but at a gauge of 11 stitches per inch. This claims it's a DK-ish weight that gets 22 stitches per inch on US size 5s. Where are my 5s? In another project, and I know I have a second set, and I can't find those, and I've gone through several project bags, so I'm not sure where it's at. So the Beroco Remix Light is 30% nylon, 27% cotton, 24% acrylic, 10% silk, and 9% linen. So it's definitely a summer style yarn. Says that you can wash it in cold water on the delicate cycle. So in theory, this is going to be the body of the sweater, and then this will be the lacy section at the top. So since I couldn't find my 5s, you know, you do what you can, and you say, well, so much for that, and you cast on with 6s. So here's my swatch so far. And I wanted to do a swatch and wash it to make sure that it's not going to bleed. I read several reviews on this yarn, and it said that it was easy to break, which it kind of can be. So you obviously don't want it at too loose of a gauge, but it's probably breaking like that because of the fact it's all short stapled fibers. I mean, cotton, acrylic, and nylon aren't very long stapled, I wouldn't think. So this is a swatch on size 6s, and it's supposed to be swatched in the round, so I just kind of made a big loop in the back and continued knitting it around. So I'm going to wash it this afternoon and leave it here on the needles so that way I don't waste any yarn. And we will see how this goes. Hopefully this project goes slightly better than the last idea of the last project. So I've got 3 skeins of the red and 1 of the gold, and there's like 430 yards in each, so it's plenty to do this with. And that's also what prompted me to finally measure my bust, because that's when I discovered I wasn't a 42 like I thought I was 49. So, small difference there of just a few inches. So, hopefully I'm going to start on that this week. It'll be a nice cool tank top, and in theory it shouldn't take that long. I mean, it looks pretty simple for the most part. So, moving on from that, I have finished objects, and I do have a finished object this week. This has just been the week of slightly disappointing things, because I finished my Dangerfield Island by Tanis Gray. I knit both the sleeves. It's blowing out the screen horribly. You can see there's just garter stitch sleeves, and then each side has a cable panel that runs down, and then there's the giant cable that runs down the back. I haven't blocked it yet. I'm going to run it through the washing machine and the dryer because it's acrylic, so it should be able to take it. And I have at least, I think, 300 plus yards extra that I shouldn't have. I'm not 100% sure how I'm doing this, so I'm going to remeasure the gauge on this and see what the gauge looks like. At the top, it fits all right, but I don't like this neck. There's something off to me about this neckline. I don't know if it's because the collar is extremely short, and in reality there really isn't much of a collar. But like, if I was to go and button it, it just, I don't know, it feels weird, and it feels really extra down in here. Let me rotate the sleeves, that way they're actually on somewhat straight. And then when I get up, so I mean it gets tighter as it goes to the bottom, but yet there were no decreases in this knitting. So, see, if I was to button it here, it's much easier to button up at the top than what it is down at the bottom. So, I don't know what I'm going to do with this sweater. I'm definitely not going to rip it out, because that's so not worth it. And I've gone through and actually woven in all the ends. All I need to do is get, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need to get 8 buttons, and sew on some buttons. But I'm going to definitely run it through the washer and dryer and see how it fits after that. And it may fit better then. And it may be one that goes to the SSK try-it-on room and gets put up as, hey, make me an offer on it. It was an easy knit. I mean, there wasn't anything hard about it. It's just the shaping's a little wonky in my opinion. And there wasn't a lot in the diagram. There wasn't really a good diagram that showed you exact dimensions, which I'm coming to appreciate more and more, because I want to know exactly how big is it across the bust, how long should your shoulder seams be, you know, how about going out around here, how big should this be versus down here. So I've really come to appreciate a really good diagram in a knitting pattern, and I've seemed to notice that a lot of people are lacking those for some reason. So I don't know, I mean, it's a pretty color. You know, it's nice and bright purple. We'll see where the sweater ends up. I mean, worst comes to worst, I just wear it out around the house. I mean, it was super cheap. It's not like it cost me a ton to make. And I will get my points for making it for SSK, but it's not quite the sweater I had hoped that it would be. You know, which, unfortunately, that's sometimes how it goes. So that's my only finished object this week, because I was trying to get it done, and then I'd done so much knitting there on my Rainbow in the Storm. So the other thing I did this week was machine knitting wise, and I sold a couple of cowls recently that I'd done on my machine, and I knew that I was going to be running out of the base yarn that I use for my machine currently. That's an alpaca yarn, because the yarn's no longer made, and I basically bought the majority of the overstock they had of undyed white, and I'm down to white, 2 white skeins left, and that's not going to get me very far. So I'm trying out a few new alpaca yarns, and so I did this cowl, and I'm going to end up seaming it together here at some point soon. So you can see there's all the floats across the back, but you don't need to worry about picking up floats when you're machine knitting, because I'm going to end up seaming it together, and it'll end up being a nice little cowl for me, hopefully. So the yarn that I used for this is from the Imperial Yarn Company, and it's their fingering weight, and it is an alpaca, superwash merino, and nylon. The blue was undyed, so I dyed that myself, and then the green was overdyed, kind of yellowy, but I pre-washed it just to make sure that the yarn was good and set, and I had a bit of bleed off, so I overdyed it with some green, so that way I had slightly more neon-y alpacas. So far, I think it feels okay. Once I get it seamed, I'll wash it again, and we'll see what the stitch definition really looks like. So far, the stitch definition's pretty good. I mean, the alpacas are pretty well defined, which I like. My only pet peeve is that the yarn comes in 50-gram skeins, and they're like 200 and some odd yards each. And in reality, I don't know many sock yarns that are sold at under 400 yards a piece. And I need almost 400 yards to do one of these. So, I need to seam it up, but then I will have myself a nice little cowl. Of course, you know, now it's a little bit warm for cowl season, but you gotta wear your own products, that way you can promote them. So, that's my machine knitting I did this week. I have one more hat to complete before I leave for Pennsylvania next week, because it's something that I pre-sold. So, I need to get that done. Spinning-wise, haven't done any spinning, and travel type stuff. So, 2 weeks ago, right after I recorded, was our shearing, and we had a really nice couple and their kids come up from Evansville that helped us out with our shearing, and that was greatly appreciated. And as a result, we got all the alpacas done, and we did not do the llamas yet, because the llamas we should be able to do on our own. So we got all the alpacas sheared without too much of an incident. I got a nice scrape on my side from a toenail, which that happens. Nobody got cut, like animal-wise, really. And nobody lost any fingers. I still have all 10, so that's always a good sign, too. So we got all that done. And then, so let's see, that would have been 2 weeks ago. So we sheared, and of course then it started pouring down rain, of course. Bruce and Ted have both been shorn. Ted's fleece was about 10 pounds this year, and 6 inches long with his locks, which was pretty nice. And then Bruce, his fleece, I think, was about 8 pounds, and he had about 5.5-inch long locks for his Pygora fleece. So I'll have both of those actually at the fiber event this weekend if people are interested in it. I'm more likely to sell Bruce because I tend to use Ted's locks more often, but I'll have it there in case somebody's really willing to make me an offer I can't refuse. So, worked on that, and then this past weekend I went to my friend Linda Salisbury, once again with Eagle Bend Yarn and Fiber Shop, and she's just south of Cincinnati, down near that ark that they built, where you can take a tour of the ark and see the dinosaurs that were on the ark that I didn't know about. Didn't know there were dinosaurs on the ark, but went to Linda's house, and I think that they shared a total of 64 during the day. And I did sorting for her, so I was looking at what the micron and length and hair level was on each of her alpacas. And then we sat down and talked about her sheep. And she's got a flock of Cormos, 3 or 4 Shetlands, Border Leicester, and then she has these 2 new sheep that we think are BFL Teeswater Border Leicesters. Not 100% sure. But she had something like 11 lambs running around, and the lambs were really cute, and we got to help bottle feed some of them because she had some that had triplets that she hadn't quite planned on having either. So Linda mainly has Cormo sheep, and I'm helping her to sell a few of her fleeces, so I'll have some of those fleeces available at the fiber event, and after that they'll probably go up online. There's also some very interesting Shormo fleeces, and you may be asking, what's a Shormo? Well, Shormos happen when you have Shetland ewes or mothers that are in a pen, and there's a baby Cormo ram that hasn't been banded or made into a non-breeding man quick enough, and at 6 months old he decides that he's a hot stuff. So the Cormo baby ram bred with the Shetland ewe, and thus we get Shormo fleeces. And so it's interesting, the Shormo fleeces are very, very similar to the Cormos in fineness and in length. The main difference that I've seen is that their heads don't have near the amount of wool that the Cormos have. And I haven't really seen them shorn yet, but I'm guessing that they have a few less wrinkles. So they're probably slightly easier to spin, or to shear. So it was kind of cute to get to see a few of those little guys running around. There may be a few new sheepies joining us later on this year, because I've found out sheep really, they pour in the money, you know, and when baby sheep grow up to be big sheep and they have babies, they can have 2 or 3 at a time, which makes a pretty good return on your dollar. So we may be doing a few tradesies and end up with a few sheep. So the sheep were entertaining. So upcoming events. This weekend I have the fiber event that's at Greencastle, Indiana. It is Friday and Saturday is when I'm vending there. So I'll have a full booth out in the Fiber Arts building, I think it is. It's supposed to rain all day tomorrow for setup, which kind of sucks. but hopefully the next 2 days will be somewhat nice. So stop out and say hi. After that, let's see. Next weekend, the 26th through the 28th, I'll be in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for the MAPACA Jubilee, which is the Mid-Atlantic and something alpaca group. But it's basically the states out around there. So it's a halter show, plus I'll be doing some free classes there, and I'll have a full booth set up. So it's in Harrisburg at the Farm Events Center, I think is what it's called. It's a huge arena there. So if you're in the area of Pennsylvania at all, stop by, check it out. After that, looking to May 13th to 20th, I'll be out helping at a shearing and sorting in Colorado for about 500 animals, so that's always a good time. And then I'll come back, after that, June 7th and 9th, I'll be back in Colorado again for the Estes Park Wool Market, where I'm teaching Corespinning on one of those days. So I'll have a full booth there, and fleeces probably galore, so stop by and check all that out. Then June 22nd and 23rd, there's going to be a fibery fun weekend down at Rolling Oaks Alpaca Ranch in Makanda, Illinois. And that's going to take you from selecting fleeces, washing fleeces, dyeing fleeces, and then on to carding them and blending them with different fibers. So really good introduction to getting into fleeces. The 29th and 30th, there'll be a machine knitting class at River Hill Ranch, which is in, now I've forgotten. It's in Kentucky, just Richmond, Kentucky area. And that should be a pretty good class. There'll be very limited spots for that because of the amount of machines that I have and the number of people I can keep an eye on while we're machine knitting. Oh, excuse me. Oh. So then after that, we're looking into July. And July 17th through the 21st, I'll be at the Super Summer Knit Together Retreat hosted by the Knit Girls down in Nashville, Tennessee. There is a one-day vending event on Saturday, and it's open to the public from 1 to 4. So if you're in the area, it's at the Scarrett Bennett Center, so stop by. There's going to be a lot of great vendors there. And then the 21st, which is the Sunday, I'll be teaching at the AOA Natural Fiber Extravaganza, which is also in Nashville. I'll be teaching over-dyeing natural colors of alpaca and corespinning there. And during SSK, there's going to be a full retreat, or there's going to be a vending market. There are workshops and all sorts of seminars and stuff out there at the Fiber Extravaganza. So definitely feel free to check that out. So I think that's about it for today. A little bit of chaos. It sounds to me like a lot of ripping out of stuff. You'll notice I didn't have my brioche hat that I was working on that's neon pink and black, because the more that I look at it, the more I don't like it. I think that the neon pink is too much. So I may be ripping that out too. 'Tis the season for ripping out, I guess. So we'll see. So hopefully I'll get the sweater washed this week, and we'll see how it fits after I wash it. Maybe I'll like it a little bit better then. If not, if it's something that you might like, let me know. I may be willing to rehome it to somebody else, because you might as well enjoy the knit wear someplace. So that's about it for this week. In 2 weeks, I will have done the fiber event and had a week off. Oh, excuse me. Obviously, I need to get a little bit more sleep these days. We will have done the fiber event, and then I am planning on cleaning up some stuff outside. So I'll probably have lots of tick stories to tell you about, because our woods are full of ticks these days. So that's about it for right now. I'm going to have some pictures after this of some of the shearings that I went to, some of the baby lambs, and some of our little guys after shearing, because we really had some color transformations after shearing, which was nice. And we're also currently on baby watch because Measly is getting huge. And she's due technically anytime between now and May 20th, roughly. And of course she could go over that for all I know, because she could be stubborn. But she's definitely huge. And we definitely have 2 more girls bred, it looks like, for the fall. So hopefully this fall we'll have a few more babies on the ground as well. But our current little baby, after we sheared her, she's definitely a dark silver modern. And the fleece actually looked pretty nice when it came off of her. And she looks really cute now. So still not 100% sure on what we're going to name her. My leading name so far is Saucy Winch. But my husband pointed out that if we're a circus-themed alpaca farm, we really should try to stick with circus names. So I'm not real sure what I'm going to name her if I do that, because I can't think of many one-eyed circus things. You know, like, I mean, Saucy Winch makes a little more sense. If she was a pirate, she would have lost her eye in Misadventure. But, like, calling her, like, Trampoline. I mean, maybe she had a trampoline accident and poked out her eye. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. We're still working on names for the baby. It's going to be a while, probably, because, you know, there's no big hurry. It's not like it's hurting her to not technically have a name. We just point at her and say the little one. So, that's it for this week, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye. Here, baby. Come here. It's okay.
Your mother's up there.
Hi. Hi, baby.
She's like, hey, I know you guys.
Hi. Where are you going? No, don't play in the puddle.
Nope, I'm going to drink it.
Don't play in the puddle.
We wash our shitty boots off in here, baby.